There is a Facebook group. There's a couple of Facebook groups on that too, if you'd like to join. Sunshining Wake Up Report, and there's another one that Duane created too. You might like to join. What I do is post the good news there, the news that people are doing something creative and beneficial for the world. Well, this is these two news reports come out of the Native Americans in here in the United States. The first one here is, first news item is from Oakland, California. And here we have the second only Native American restaurant opened up recently in the Bay Area in Oakland. It's called Wapapa's Kitchen. And Crystal Wapapa is a Kickapoo Indian from Oklahoma who was raised in the Bay Area. And she first began with a catering service, catering Native American food, before she opened up the restaurant here in October. Native American diets vary by climate and tribe, but mostly consists of buffalo, potatoes, squash, fry breads, and hunting and gathering according to their environment. And what's on her menu at this restaurant? Well, it consists of things like seasonal salads. Right now they feature a lot of pomegranates in their salad. No, but we have a couple of pomegranate trees on the ranch here where we live, and they're in season right now, and there's lots of pomegranates on it. Duane, they crack open when they're ripe, the fruit, and then you harvest the little red seeds, which are they stain a lot, but they're very delicious in salads and smoothies and such. Duane's doing a lot of harvesting with the pomegranates. Also on her menu is blue corn bison meatloaf, hand-harvested rice cakes, smoked cedar sweet potatoes on tostadas, bison chili, and blue corn waffles, and a lot more. And when a reporter asked her what she wanted people to walk away with after their visit to the restaurant, Crystal said, for people to remember whose land they are on and where their food comes from. So it's neat sometimes to go back to where these people that lived here in other parts of the world, the indigenous people, how they supported the natural environment and they didn't harm it, and they lived happily ever after until the white men came. I mean, it's a start. They did pay attention to their surroundings, and not necessarily with the isness, but they had a lifestyle that didn't harm their environment. The next news report here is, and this is from an old article, but it's about the Anishinaabe Indians from Michigan. And it's how they kept warm during the winter, because Michigan here in the United States is very, very cold. And I'll just read it here. Approximately 1 month, well, let's get into it. As daily temperatures drop, it's hard to imagine a Michigan winter without a warm and secure modern dwelling to escape the cold and snow. But the Amish, I'm going to just call them Amish because it's difficult to say their whole the whole word here, Anishinaabic, so I'll just call them Anish. The natives who occupied the Grand River Basin over 600 years ago didn't only survive, they thrived. Just how did they manage to build structures that could keep them warm without the benefit of modern technology? For an answer to this question, the author turned to Kevin Finney of Great Lakes Lifeways Institute, who gave a lecture at Grand Haven Library. As a lifetime student of Native American heritage and culture, Finney addressed the Anish methods of transitioning from fall to winter. Visiting an Anish village in the late fall several hundred years ago, one would witness a flurry of activity as families were busy preparing to leave their summer camp along the Grand River for more isolated hunting camps in the forest. And I know here where I grew up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, the Indians used to come down in the valley during winter, where there's more sun, and then go up into the coast range, 3,000 foot or so, more of a shaded, cooler environment during the summer when it got hot. So Indians do migrate according to hunting and weather, etc. While warm weather villages were large, 100 families in one camp was not uncommon. Winter camps contained only 4 to 12 extended families. The camps were also spread far apart in order to preserve precious resources and to minimize competition between hunters. It should be noted that men did the hunting, and hunting was primarily a winter activity. Warfare and battle took place during the summer. Horses didn't exist on the continent until the Europeans arrived, so this meant that traveling to the winter camp was done on foot. Therefore, the materials for the winter home not only needed to be warm and water resistant, but lightweight and durable at the same time. How did the Anish stay warm and dry during the long Michigan winters? The answer lay in a plant that thrives in a wet environment and that most don't look at twice when they see it. It is the cattail. Abundant along the banks of the Grand River, the Anish harvested them every fall. Cattail leaves are semicircular, C-shaped, and can be interlocked together in layers, very much like the terracotta roof tiles of Mediterranean-style homes. After harvesting, they were dried out and then interlocked, layered, and stitched together with a sharpened rib bone from a large animal, most likely a bear, threaded with the tough inner fibers of the basswood tree. The women made new sets of mats every year. An average mat measured 8 to 10 feet long and about 5 feet wide. One 4-foot section of cattail mat contained approximately 1,400 leaves. It looks like they made a mat every year. Well, this is in the Bay Area. They used to burn their huts annually because it became bug infested or it broke down. So they just built a new hut every year from whatever materials they had there. Once the mats were sewn, they could be rolled, but not until other items were placed on top to be rolled up inside. Animal skins, household goods, and other necessities were rolled inside the mats for ease of transport. Even small children, 0 to 18 months old, were carried inside the rolled mats. Although carrying a child in this manner may seem unthinkable today, it was perfectly safe as the child was also strapped to a cradle board. The cradle board allowed for airspace, while the mats kept the child warm and secure. Once the extended families reached their winter camp, the mats were attached to the sides and top of a dome-shaped frame made from young saplings. They were placed so that a gap existed between the point where the wall and roof mats overlapped, allowing for ventilation. An opening was also left in the roof so that the smoke from the fire could escape. The Pekigan, or winter dome house, was ready for occupancy. The cattail mat was an effective winter covering for several reasons. First, the interior of the leaf contains tiny air pockets. A cross-section would reveal something similar to a small piece of honeycomb, making the cattail mats perfect insulators. Second, the dried leaves reacted according to the levels of atmospheric moisture. As winter approached and humidity increased, the leaves expanded, making the covering practically watertight. Lastly, and as stated earlier, the mats were lightweight and fairly durable. The one negative of the cattail mats was their limited lifespan of 2 years. This is why the leaves were harvested and new mats were made every fall. Each Pekigan was made using 2 sets of mats. The newly stitched mats sewn 1 month or so prior line the inside of the Pekigan, while the other older set served as the outer layer. It is uncertain as to whether the Anish possessed the knowledge of why the cattail mats kept them warm. But who cares? It kept them warm, whereas our scientists today want to find out everything and anything. But they kept them warm and they just went on with their lives. They didn't need the science behind it. It could be assumed that the natives in general were unaware of the science behind the many methods of survival that had been passed on to them by their elders and ancestors. If any of us today try to imagine spending a Michigan winter in a Pekigan, we might cringe at the thought of having to rough it. The natives, however, didn't consider their lives to be a struggle with nature, and it would be oversimplifying and even wrong to refer to their knowledge and abilities as survival skills. At the same time, their skills could be considered technology, even it was quite different from the modern technology that we are familiar with. The Anish technology was born from the wisdom and knowledge passed down through many generations. As they gradually made improvements to this knowledge, they became masters of the natural world that surrounded them. We have here technology that benefits people and is in harmony with the environment, whereas the technology today is rather Frankenstein's, and it harms people and it just really goes nowhere. So these are 2 examples of news items here that refer to the Native Americans and how they supported their environment and how it benefited everybody. I'm here at the farmers market today. It's Saturday in Baja, Mexico, and they have a lot of these markets around during the week where people come and sell their fruits and vegetables and jewelry, etc. And I'm just seeing, from what I read today with the Native Americans and how they lived and how just the people here today we could support each other here in a little community with what everybody has to offer, support with each other. Like, again, some people have fruits, vegetables, some people have music, talents, abilities. So just from the people here, you could see how without the control and the governments and agencies, people could just make it, from what you could bring together with what each person has with their resources. And it was interesting how Michigan, the Indians there, how they would respect each other's hunting. They had like, it was 100 families maybe, and then they'd break it down into maybe 12 families, 4 to 12 families in the winter, and they'd give each other room. You know, they'd be aware of how each, you know, for hunting purposes or for whatever, harvesting purposes, they'd give each other room. I mean, they support each other in that way where they could survive. But they were aware of what the resources were available and how they could work together to support each other so they could survive. Whereas here with the governments in control, everybody's told what to do basically and regulated. But just in as example, I'm just sitting here in the farmer's market, and it's just kind of cool to imagine that, yeah, if we had to, we could support. Everybody would be supported in one way or the other. They could go out and then come back in. There's somebody here that sets the space and the time where we all meet, the community meets, and then they come together and they trade, barter, share. And that's the way, you know, it's just one way of doing things to support without harming the environment, basically.